Imagine your entire city turning into a war zone overnight. No internet, no salary, no police, just the roar of jets above you, and the knowledge that no one is coming to help. That's not a movie. That's Sudan, right now, home to the largest displacement crisis on Earth, where millions of people are being pushed out of their homes, starved, or killed with almost no cameras watching. Today, we're diving into how a feud between two generals became the slow destruction of an entire country. What's really happening in places like Khartoum and Darfur, and what, realistically, someone like you can do from a phone screen thousands of miles away. Stick around to the end, because this story isn't just about Sudan, it's about what happens when the world decides some lives are simply optional. In April 2023, Sudan was supposed to be inching toward democracy after years of dictatorship and revolution. Instead, two men who were meant to guide the transition picked up guns. On one side, you have the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, the official national army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. On the other side, you have the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, a powerful paramilitary led by Mohammed Hamdan Hemeti Dagalo. His fighters trace their roots back to the Janjaweed militias, the same militias accused of genocide in Darfur in the 2000s. These two men were supposed to merge their forces and step aside for civilians. Instead, they decided they didn't trust each other. On April 15th, 2023, that distrust exploded into open war. Khartoum woke up to airstrikes, artillery, and street battles. Tanks rolled through neighborhoods. Planes bombed residential areas. Civilians were caught in the crossfire with nowhere safe to go. What started as a power struggle in the capital spread like wildfire. East, west, north, south, Sudan began to crack. Very quickly, the impact became impossible to ignore, if anyone had been looking closely. Over 11 million people have been driven from their homes in just over 2 years. That's roughly 1 in every 4 Sudanese people. Around 30 million people, almost 2/3 of the population, now need humanitarian assistance to survive. Nearly half the country is facing serious food insecurity. In some areas, famine conditions have been confirmed. Imagine an entire country where almost everyone is either running, hungry, or both. Hospitals have been bombed, looted, or occupied. Doctors treat patients in basements or under trees. Kids play not with toys, but with bullet casings. This is not a conflict over there. It's the collapse of a state in slow motion. If there's one place that captures how bad this has gotten, it's Fasher, the capital of North Darfur. For more than a year and a half, Fasher was under siege. The RSF gradually encircled the city while the army dug in. Food and medicine became almost impossible to bring in. Prices skyrocketed. Families survived on 1 meal a day, then one every 2 days. Humanitarian agencies warned again and again, if Fasher falls, we could see famine and mass killing on a scale that echoes Rwanda. And then, in late October 2025, the worst fears started to come true. Reports described RSF fighters pouring into the city. Men dragged from their homes and executed women and girls, raped entire neighborhoods, burned and emptied. One of the last functioning hospitals in the city, the Saudi Maternity Hospital, became a scene of horror. Armed men stormed the building and killed more than 460 patients and their companions, according to international health officials. Some staff were abducted. Satellite images now show mass graves where the bodies lie. Think about that. A maternity hospital, mothers, newborn babies, gunned down in what should be the safest building in a city. And still, Sudan barely gets a fraction of the attention other wars receive. In Sudan, bullets aren't the only weapon. Hunger is doing just as much killing. Because fighting blocks roads and looted warehouses, aid convoys can't reach many areas. Farmers can't safely plant or harvest. Markets are destroyed or too dangerous to visit. The result? Over 20 million people are in crisis-level hunger or worse. Hundreds of thousands are already in catastrophe conditions, the technical term for people literally on the edge of starvation. In some camps, malnutrition rates in children are so high that doctors say it looks like scenes from the worst famines of the 1980s. Only this time, they're happening in 2025, in a conflict the world could stop, but hasn't. Parents boil leaves because they have nothing else to feed their kids. Some people collapse on the road trying to reach a border that might not even let them in. This isn't food shortage. It's a deliberate choice by armed groups to block aid and weaponize starvation. So what do the two main sides actually control? The Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, now hold much of the east, cities like Port Sudan, parts of the Nile Valley, and some southern areas. The government operates from Port Sudan like a government in exile, claiming to be the legitimate state. The Rapid Support Forces, RSF, control huge swaths of Darfur, much of Khartoum, and other pockets across the west and center. In the territories they occupy, they run a kind of shadow state based on checkpoints, extortion, and looting. But here's the twist. Neither side is really winning. The army carries out airstrikes and shelling that often hit civilians and infrastructure. The RSF commits massacres, ethnic cleansing, and widespread sexual violence, especially against non-Arab communities in Darfur. Both sides blockade at different times and places. You end up with something worse than a divided country. You get no real country at all, just overlapping fiefdoms where armed men rule and ordinary people are trapped between them. Governments and international organizations have talked about Sudan. Emergency meetings, strongly worded statements, calls for ceasefires that last maybe a day. Sanctions have been discussed or imposed. Investigations into war crimes are being opened. There are warnings about possible genocide in parts of Darfur. But there are three brutal realities. No one wants to send troops. Peacekeepers in the past were heavily constrained, and now most governments are focused on other wars and crises. Money is drying up. Humanitarian appeals for Sudan are massively underfunded. Aid agencies talk about having to cut rations or shut down programs even as need explodes. There's no unified pressure. Different foreign powers have different favorites inside Sudan. Some are accused of arming or funding one side or the other, making it harder to force a real ceasefire. In other words, Sudan is burning, but the fire is too far from the cameras and too tangled in global politics for world leaders to treat it like an emergency. And that's exactly why Sudanese activists keep saying, "We are not in a crisis, we are a people. Don't forget us." You might be thinking, after all this, is there any hope at all? It's easy to say no. But on the ground, people are still fighting for life in ways that never make the news. Teachers run makeshift schools in refugee camps with nothing but a broken chalkboard. Volunteers organize secret clinics in basements to treat the wounded. Local women's groups protect girls from trafficking and forced marriage in displacement sites. Sudanese activists, journalists, doctors, and ordinary citizens are documenting atrocities with their phones, sharing updates, lobbying the UN, and begging the world to pay attention. Hope doesn't look like a big Hollywood moment here. It looks like a mom telling her child, "You will grow up. You will go to school. This war will not be the only story of your life." That tiny sentence is an act of rebellion. So here's the big question. You're watching this on YouTube. You're probably not a president or a general. What can you possibly do about Sudan? More than you think, especially when millions of people do it together. 1. Don't let Sudan disappear from conversation. Talk about it, post about it, share reels, shorts, and posts made by Sudanese creators and journalists. Algorithms reward silence with invisibility. Your share button is not nothing. 2. Support trusted humanitarian organizations. Even a small monthly donation can help fund food, medical care, and protection for displaced families. If you can't give money, amplify the campaigns of those who can. 3. Pressure your representatives. If you live in a country with elected officials, email them or call their offices. Ask what your government is doing about humanitarian funding for Sudan, sanctions on those fueling atrocities, diplomatic pressure for a real ceasefire, and civilian-led transition. Politicians rarely act on issues nobody mentions. Be that person who mentions Sudan. 4. Stay informed beyond the headlines. Conflicts like this fade from the news cycle fast. When that happens, violence often gets worse, not better. Make a conscious choice to follow updates from Sudanese voices and from humanitarian agencies working there. For over 70 years, Sudan has walked through one nightmare after another. Dictatorship, civil war, genocide, revolution, and now this brutal struggle between two armies that seem to care more about power than people. Right now, the maps are changing. Cities are emptying, camps are swelling. But the story is not finished yet. The question is, will Sudan's future be written only by men with guns, or also by people like you who refuse to look away? If this video helped you understand what's happening, don't let it be the last step. Share it. Leave a comment so the algorithm knows this matters. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive on underreported conflicts like Sudan. Your attention is a form of power. Use it.